Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
Many people around the world know the character called the tramp. He wears a small hat, big shoes, and has a little mustache. He carries a cane and walks in a special way. This funny and kind character is famous everywhere, even today. The man who created him was Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin was born a long time ago in London, England. His family was poor. His parents, Hannah and Charles, worked in music halls, singing and acting. Life was hard for Charlie when he was a child. Sometimes there was not enough food to eat. He lived in poor places called workhouses for a time. His mother, Hannah, was often sick and could not work. But Charlie Chaplin was a very good actor and comedian. He started performing on stage when he was young, even as a child. He worked hard and traveled to other countries like America. In America, he started making movies. This was a new thing then. He created the tramp character in movies. People loved him and his films very much. He became a big star, known all over the world. He went from being poor to being very famous and rich. Charlie Chaplin's movies were funny, but they also had sad parts. The tramp made people laugh with his jokes and movements, but sometimes the tramp was lonely or had problems in the world. This mix of funny and sad made the films special. People felt things for the tramp and his difficulties. Charlie Chaplin had a long and interesting life. He made many movies that are still watched today. He was not just an actor, he also wrote the stories and directed his films. He was a great artist who showed the world comedy and feeling. This book tells the story of his life, from his poor beginnings to his global fame and how he made his famous films. It looks at his journey and his work. 2. Early life. Charlie Chaplin was born in London on April 16, 1889. His family worked in the theater. His father, Charles Chaplin Sr., was a singer. His mother, Hannah Hill, was also a singer, but she was not as famous. They worked in music halls. These were popular places for entertainment. Charlie's parents did not have an easy life. They did not have much money. When Charlie was very young, his parents separated. His father did not live with the family. This made life very hard for Charlie, his mother, and his older brother, Sidney. Hannah had to find work, but it was difficult. Sometimes she did sewing or nursed sick people. The family was very poor. They often had no home and no food. Because they were so poor, Charlie and Sidney had to go to the workhouse. A workhouse was a place where poor people lived and sometimes worked. Life there was not happy. Charlie was very young, only 7 years old the first time he went. He was sent to a school for poor children. He stayed there for some time. Later, Charlie and Sidney had to go back to the workhouse. This happened when Charlie was 7 and Sidney was 11. Their mother was sick and could not care for them. She had problems with her mind. She had to go to a special hospital called an asylum. This was a very sad time for the boys. They did not know their father well and he did not help much. His mother, Hannah, got better sometimes and came home, but the sickness came back. She had to go back to the hospital more than one time. It was very difficult for her and for Charlie and Sidney. They worried about her very much. Charlie had his first time on stage when he was a very small boy. He was about 5 years old. His mother was singing in a theater in a town called Aldershot. Her voice became sick and she could not sing. The people in the audience were angry. The manager of the theater saw little Charlie. He took Charlie onto the stage. Charlie sang a popular song. The people liked him very much. They laughed and threw money onto the stage. Charlie sang more songs and danced. It was his first time as a performer and his mother's last time singing on stage. When Charlie was 9 years old, he joined a group of boys who performed. They were called the 8 Lancashire Lads. They were famous for clog dancing. Clog dancing is a type of dance with special shoes. Charlie traveled with this group to many towns in England. He learned a lot about being on stage. He worked hard even though he was very young. This was an important step for Charlie. He was starting his life as a professional entertainer. He spent about 2 years touring with this group. He was learning about performing for people, which would be his life's work. 3. Stage star. After his early jobs, Chaplin wanted to be a good actor. He joined a famous comedy group. The group was called Fred Carnot's. This was in February 1908. First, he had a 2-week trial. Carnot was not sure about him. He thought Chaplin looked shy, but Chaplin was very good on stage. So he got a contract. He would get £3 10 shillings each week in the first year. Chaplin worked hard with Carnot's group. He became better at acting without words. This is called pantomime. He was funny with his body and face. He played small jobs first. By 1909, he had bigger jobs in the shows. In April 1910, he got the main job in a new show called Jimmy the Fearless. It was a big success. Carnot chose Chaplin to travel to America. He went with a part of the group. Another actor, Stan Laurel, was also in this group. They traveled across North America. People liked Chaplin very much. One newspaper said he was one of the best pantomime artists. His most famous job on stage was playing a man who was drunk. This was in a show called Mumming Birds. In America, it was called A Night in an English Music Hall. People laughed a lot at this job. It made him well known. The first trip to America was long. It lasted about 21 months. He came back to England in June 1912. He felt a little sad, but he went to America again with Carnot's group in October 1912. On this second trip to America, something important happened. After about 6 months, someone from a film company saw him. Films were new then. The company was called the New York Motion Picture Company. Their studio was called Keystone Studios. They liked Chaplin's acting. They thought he could work in movies. They wanted him to take the place of an actor named Fred Mace. Chaplin thought the movies from Keystone were not very good. He called them crude. But he liked the idea of working in films. It was a new life. He met with the company. He signed a contract in September 1913. He would get $150 every week. This was a good salary for a new job in films. Chaplin arrived in Los Angeles, where the studio was, in early December 1913. He started his new job at Keystone Studios on January 5, 1914. He was ready for a new stage, the movie screen. 4. Movie magic. After touring America with Fred Carnot, Charles Chaplin received an offer. It was from a film company called Keystone Studios. They made comedies in Hollywood, California. Charles thought their films were a bit wild and not very good, but he wanted to try movies. He signed a contract for $150 a week. This was in September of 1913. Charles arrived in Los Angeles in early December. He started working at Keystone in January of 1914. The boss was a man named Mack Sennett. Mack thought Charles looked very young without his stage makeup. Charles said he could play older if needed. He did not act in a film right away. He watched and learned how movies were made. This was new for him. He saw how they cut the film and put scenes together. Keystone was a fast place. They made films quickly, sometimes one a week. There was often no full story written down before they started. They would have an idea and then just film funny things happening. Charles's first film was called Making a Living. He played a man who looked like the character he played in Carno's The Wow Wows. He wore a top hat and a thin mustache. He did some funny things like hitting someone's knee and pulling it back when they moved it. But Charles did not like the finished film. He felt the director, Henry Lyman, had cut out the best jokes. For his next film, Charles needed a costume. He went to the dressing room where actors kept clothes. He took a mix of things from different people. From one actor, he took big, baggy pants. From another, a small, tight coat. He took large shoes and put them on the wrong feet so they would not fall off. He added a small hat and a little mustache. He also picked up a cane. When he put on these clothes, the character seemed to come to him. He felt like a new person. This was the start of the famous character, the Tramp. The film where he first wore this costume was likely Mabel's Strange Predicament. But the first time people saw the Tramp on screen was in Kid Auto Races. This film was shot quickly during a children's car race. Charles's character just walked around, got in the way of the camera, and made funny faces. The people watching the race in the film were the first audience to see the Tramp. They looked confused at first, then they started to laugh. In Mabel's Strange Predicament, directed by Mack Sennett and starring Mabel Normand, Charles played a slightly drunk man in a hotel lobby. He got tangled up and fell over. Mack Sennett saw that Charles was very funny in this costume and liked his acting. This film was a big success for Charles. Charles continued to make many short films for Keystone. He worked with different directors like Henry Lyman and George Nichols. He often found it hard because they did not want his ideas. The films were fast and full of chases and falls. But slowly, Charles started to put more of his own comedy into them. His popularity grew very fast. People around the world loved the little Tramp. They liked his funny walk, his small mustache, and his kind heart, even when he was causing trouble. After a while, Charles wanted more control over his films. He had an argument with Mabel Normand while filming Mabel at the Wheel. Mack Sennett was angry but saw how popular Charles was. He agreed to let Charles try directing his own film. Charles even said he would pay if it was not good. His first film as director was Caught in the Rain. It was a success and showed that Charles could make very funny movies his own way. From this time on, he directed most of the films he acted in at Keystone. He learned quickly and started to make films that were different from the usual Keystone style. 5. A New Star. Charlie Chaplin came to Keystone in November of 1914. Charlie felt worried because he did not have a new job offer yet. Then, a person from the S&A Film Manufacturing Company contacted him. This company was started by George K. Spoor and G. M. Anderson, also known as Bronco Billy. S&A offered Charlie a salary of $1,250 a week. They also offered a bonus of $10,000 just for signing. Charlie liked this idea. He signed the paper. The bonus was slow to arrive, but he liked G. M. Anderson, who was a kind man. Charlie visited S&A's studio in Niles, California. It was a small glass building. He also saw the studio in Chicago. He did not like the cold weather or the busy, factory-like way they made films there. He felt it was bad for his work. He also did not like that they gave him a script to follow. At Keystone, they just made things up as they went. When the bonus money arrived, Charlie told S&A he wanted to work in the California studio instead of Chicago. It was not perfect, but it was better. At S&A, Charlie started to build his own group of actors. He brought some people from Chicago. He also found a new actress, Edna Purviance. He met her in a cafe in San Francisco. She was blonde and beautiful. Charlie thought she was perfect for his films. He worried if she was funny, but she was. She worked with him in many films over the next 8 years. They became very close. Charlie started to make his films differently at S&A. He took more time and cared more about the story. His first film there was His New Job. It was set in a film studio. He was still the same funny Charlie, causing trouble. He then made A Night Out. He worked with Ben Turpin, another funny actor. They played two men who drank too much. It was like the shows he did with Fred Karno. Then he made The Champion. It was about boxing. In this film, he started to show the tramp character as a poor man looking for luck. His films were getting better. He made The Tramp in just 10 days. This film was a big step forward. It showed the tramp clearly as a lonely wanderer. He saves a girl, falls in love, but then she leaves him. The end of the film is sad. Charlie walks away down a road looking sad, but then he stands a little straighter. This was new for comedy films. People started to see that Charlie Chaplin was more than just funny. Charlie wanted to move back to Los Angeles. The studio in Niles was too small for him and G. M. Anderson. Before he left, he made a few more films like By the Sea and Work. Work showed Charlie as a poor worker pulling a heavy cart. It showed how hard life was for some people. Then in 1916, Charlie signed a new contract with the Mutual Film Corporation. They paid him $10,000 a week. This was a lot of money. It made him one of the highest paid people in the world. Mutual gave him his own studio in Los Angeles to make films. He made 12 short films for Mutual. He added new actors to his group. These films were very well made. Some of them, like Easy Street, The Cure, The Immigrant, and The Adventurer, are thought to be some of his best short films. He was supposed to make one film every 4 weeks. He did this at first, but then he wanted more time to make his films even better. He only made 4 films in the first 10 months of 1917. He was getting very good at making films and showing his character. People all over the world knew Charlie Chaplin. He was very popular. Many people tried to copy him. He was happy working at Mutual, but he wanted more freedom to make films exactly the way he wanted. This led him to look for a new company after his contract ended. 6. His own boss. After working for different film companies, Charlie Chaplin wanted more control over his movies. He wanted to make them exactly the way he thought best. He signed a contract with a company called First National Exhibitors Circuit. This contract was for 8 films, and they offered him a very large amount of money, $1 million. But for Chaplin, the money was not the most important thing. The main reason he signed was because it gave him a chance to make his films with more freedom. To have this freedom, he decided to build his own film studio. He found a place on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. It was a good place, large enough to build everything he needed. His own studio, called Charlie Chaplin Studios, was ready in 1918. Chaplin also made a big move with some other famous people in the movie business. In January 1919, he joined with the popular actor Douglas Fairbanks, the famous actress Mary Pickford, and the important director D.W. Griffith. Together, these 4 people started a new company. They called it United Artists. The idea was simple. They wanted to control how their films were made and shown. They did not want big companies telling them what to do. They wanted artistic independence. However, before Chaplin could make films just for United Artists, he had to finish the contract he had signed with First National. So he made several films for First National at his new studio. One of the first films he made there was A Dog's Life. It came out in April 1918. In this movie, Chaplin started to show new ideas for his tramp character. He began to think of the tramp as a character who could be funny but also a little sad. During this time, Chaplin's personal life also had sad moments. In September 1918, he married a young actress named Mildred Harris. She was only 16 years old. The marriage was not happy. They had a son in July 1919, but the baby was sick and died only 3 days later. This was a very difficult and sad time for Chaplin. He and Mildred divorced in April 1920. The sadness he felt after losing his son may have influenced his next big film. It was called The Kid. In this movie, the tramp finds a small boy and takes care of him. A young actor named Jackie Coogan played the boy. Chaplin started filming The Kid in August 1919 and finished in May 1920. It was much longer than his other films, about 68 minutes. The Kid was special because it was one of the first films to mix comedy with serious drama. It showed the tramp in a loving and caring role. People loved it, and it was a big success when it was released in January 1921. Chaplin made a few more films to finish his contract with First National. These included The Idle Class in 1921, Pay Day in 1922, and The Pilgrim in 1923. The Pilgrim was the last short film he made. Finally, Chaplin was free from his contract with First National. He was ready to make films just for United Artists. Now he was truly his own boss. He had his own studio, and he was a part owner of the company that would show his films. For his first film under this new freedom, he decided to try something very different. This film was called A Woman of Paris. He made it in 1923. It was not a comedy with the tramp character. Instead, it was a serious story, a drama about people and their feelings in Paris. Chaplin did not act in the film himself except for a very short moment. He wanted the actress Edna Purviance to be the main star. He directed the actors to be very natural and quiet in their roles, not big and funny like in slapstick comedies. Movie critics liked A Woman of Paris. They said it was a new and smart kind of film, but the people who went to the movies did not like it as much. They wanted to see Chaplin as the funny tramp. The film did not make a lot of money. Chaplin was sad about this because he was proud of the film. He stopped showing A Woman of Paris for many years. Even though his first film as his own boss was not a big hit with everyone, it was important. It showed that Chaplin now had the power to make the films he wanted to make, even if they were different. He had built his own studio, helped start his own company, and was ready to explore new ideas in movies. He was truly in control. 7. Big films. Chaplin was now famous, but he wanted to make bigger films. He started making long films called feature films. These films showed his best work in the time of silent movies. They are seen as masterpieces today. One big film was The Gold Rush. Chaplin got the idea from stories about people looking for gold in the past. He also thought about people who were stuck in the snow. In this film, the tramp goes to find gold in cold mountains. It is a story about fighting problems and looking for love. It took a long time to make this movie, many months. It cost a lot of money too. Chaplin filmed some parts in real mountains with many people helping. He used special effects to make the film feel big. When The Gold Rush came out, people loved it. It made a lot of money. Some parts are still very famous, like when the tramp eats his shoe or dances with bread rolls on forks. Chaplin said this was the movie he wanted people to remember him for. Another big film was The Circus. Chaplin got the idea from watching circus shows. The tramp becomes part of a circus by accident. Making this film was hard. There were problems during the filming, making it a difficult production. But when it was ready, people liked the circus. It was successful. Chaplin even won a special award for it. Around this time, new films started to have sound. People in Hollywood began making talkies. But Chaplin did not like this new way. He thought silent films were more special and had more art. He was worried that if the tramp spoke, his character might change too much, and people all over the world might not understand him anymore. So he decided to make another silent film, even though most movies now had sound. This was a brave choice. This film was City Lights. It was a silent film made when most movies had sound. The film is about the tramp and his love for a poor blind flower girl. He tries hard to help her get money so she can see again. Making City Lights took a very long time, nearly 2 years. Chaplin wanted everything to be perfect. He also wrote the music for the film himself. When City Lights was shown, it was a big success. It was very popular and made a lot of money. People loved the story and the mix of comedy and sadness. Many people think the end of the movie is very powerful and touching. Chaplin said it was his personal favorite film. After City Lights, Chaplin traveled a lot. He went to different countries around the world. Seeing the world gave him new ideas. He saw how people lived and the problems they had. He became more interested in what was happening in society. He thought about workers and machines and how life was changing. This led to his next big film, Modern Times. It was the last time Chaplin played the tramp character in a movie. The film showed the tramp working in a factory with many machines. It talked about problems in society, like people losing jobs because of machines, especially during the time of the Great Depression. This film also used sound effects, but still had no talking like a regular sound movie. It took many months to make modern times. It got different reactions from people. Some liked that it talked about social issues, others did not like the political message. But today it is seen as an important film that showed Chaplin's view of the modern world. Through making these big films, Chaplin became even more famous around the world. Millions of people knew and loved the tramp character. His movies were shown everywhere. His image was known in many countries. He was a global star who traveled widely and was recognized by people everywhere. 8. Later years and legacy. After making big films, Chaplin continued his work. He made The Great Dictator, a film that used comedy to talk about a terrible leader. He also made Monsieur Verdoux, a dark comedy that looked at society in a different way. These films were seen by some as controversial because of their themes. Chaplin faced many political problems in the United States. During the 1940s, the FBI started an investigation into him. Some people thought he had ideas that were against the country. This difficult time led to him being told he could not easily return to the United States. So in 1952, Chaplin left the country he had lived in for 40 years. He moved to Switzerland with his wife, Una O'Neill. They found a home there and raised their family. Chaplin made films in Europe. Limelight was a special film that looked back at the life of an old performer, showing parts of Chaplin's own past. He also made A King in New York and A Countess from Hong Kong in his later years. He worked on adding music to his famous silent movies for new releases. Chaplin lived in Switzerland for the rest of his life. However, in 1972, he came back to the United States for a visit. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences gave him a special honorary Oscar. People gave him a very long time of applause. It was a triumphant moment after the years of trouble. Chaplin passed away in 1977 in Switzerland. His death was a loss to the world of cinema, but his work continues to be important and loved. The tramp character is still famous everywhere. Chaplin's films showed a mix of funny situations and sad moments. He used comedy to talk about social issues and the lives of poor people. His unique style of acting and directing influenced many other filmmakers. He is remembered as one of the most important figures in the history of motion pictures. His impact on cinema and culture is lasting. What do you think makes Charlie Chaplin's films special?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.